So this video is about the optics, and this video I didn't think I'd have to make, or I didn't believe when I first heard about it, but the optics actually do help with recoil somewhat inside Warzone. If you enjoy weapon stat breakdowns and overall weapon comparisons, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as we're trying to reach our goal of 10,000 subscribers, and click that link in the description down below and subscribe to our second channel. We do post extra content over there. So like I said, what I'm exactly talking about today is comparing the Axial 3x optic to the Royal & Cross 4x optic. And the reason why I wanted to test these optics is because a lot of people have been throwing around the fact that the Royal & Cross on the C58 helps with recoil significantly, and I'm here to tell you that it actually does, which is absolutely insane. So other than the fact that you do get a higher zoom, which I will compare later on in this video, you also do get some recoil benefits or cons depending on which weapon you use. So we're going to take a look at that inside this video. So the first thing I want to show you is the zoom level of these two optics. Now first you'll see the Axial 3x optic, and this was taken at a 20-meter distance, and I sprayed the target on the wall so you can see that. And as you can see, the target doesn't really take too much of the optic up. You can clearly see out and around the target area. So now I'm going to show you an overlay of the Royal & Cross 4x optic, again at a 20-meter distance. It will look a lot closer because this weapon zooms in way more, and as you can see, the target pretty much takes up all of that optic. So of course that firstly isn't really anything new. We all know that the Royal & Cross 4x should zoom in more than the Axial 3x. What I mainly wanted to point out was the fact that I do think it is actually more than a 4x zoom that you're going to get with the Royal & Cross. But now onto the main thing, does it affect recoil? So on screen just now you will see some results of the Royal & Cross 4x optic either helping with recoil or actually making it worse in some cases as well. So like I said, you'll see it on screen just now. At the top in blue you'll see the Royal & Cross 4x optic, and you'll see the weapons in the middle. So we made sure to line these up correctly, and like I said, I scaled these up exactly the same scale, so the recoil scale should be exactly the same for both of the optics. You can see the C58, then the FARA, then the KRIG, then the XM4, and at the bottom in yellow is the Axial 3x optic. So now if you're an Axial user like myself, you would know the recoil pattern for the C58. It goes pretty much straight upwards now. The FARA goes upwards and slightly to the right now. They actually changed this recoil pattern. The KRIG is probably a really easy recoil pattern to manage. It goes up and then to the right a little bit, and then the XM4 goes up and to the right again. Now, if you see the C58, we use the exact same magazine, the exact same attachments, we only switched out the optic. You can see that the recoil is significantly reduced for the vertical recoil on the C58. So as you can see, it's nowhere near as tall. So with the C58, the Royal & Cross 4x optic is helping significantly with the vertical recoil. So if you do use the C58, I highly recommend using the Royal & Cross over the Axial 3x. Then looking at the FARA, there almost seems like there is no change here, so there's no difference in the FARA whatsoever. Now the KRIG does have a bit of a difference here. As you can see, the S-shaped curve is more pronounced on the Royal & Cross 4x. So in that case, I do believe that the Axial 3x would be a slightly better option for that reason, but I think this might come down to personal preference, to be completely honest. And then lastly, looking at the XM4, as you can see with the Royal & Cross 4x optic, there's so much more side-to-side bounce when it comes to the recoil pattern. It's pretty much night and day. The Axial 3x optic is actually very accurate, whereas the Royal & Cross is just not accurate at all. So like I said, this is actually a case-by-case basis, and it's going to depend on what weapon you actually like using. So what I would highly recommend is when you're choosing your attachments, make sure you go into a plunder game and compare the Royal & Cross to the Axial 3x on your specific weapon to make sure you're choosing the correct attachment. Now, the difference might not be as significant as the C58 and the XM4 you see on screen just now. Another thing as well is that if this is the difference between the Royal & Cross 4x and the Axial 3x optic, do any other optics actually help with recoil as well? So that's something we might need to test in a future video, and we will take a look into that later on. But that's not us done there. We also want to test a couple of other assault rifles. So I want to test the AK-47 from Cold War, and I also do want to test the Groza as well, because this did get some recoil buffs too. So we're going to test both of these weapons in Plunder right now. So here we are in Plunder now, and as you can see, I've got the AK-47 and the Groza right here. We're at a 20-meter distance, and this is the exact same test I did before. So what we're going to do is going to fire here with the Axial optic, and then fire here with the Royal & Cross. So first of all, we'll do the AK-47. we'll do one more just to make sure we're doing it right. And again, we'll do the Groza here as well. And then one more. So as you can see, it's a bit inconsistent here with the Groza. It actually does go up and then it kind of goes up a little bit more with the second recoil pattern, but I'm going to kill myself now and we're going to try the 4x optic. So again, we're back now with the 4x optic, and again, we've got the exact same AK-47 build. Let's try this again. And we'll try it with the Groza too. So let's take a look at these charts here. So it looks as if that has made it a little bit more accurate with the AK-47. As you can see, the lines are definitely much more together. Like, as you can see here, there's a bit of a gap between this recoil pattern and this recoil pattern. So there's a bit of a jump right here. Whereas there's not so many jumps inside the 4x optic. And there's a little bit less side-to-side recoil as well from the looks of things. So it's a bit more accurate, as you can see, if you can actually tell the difference there. Not as significant as the C50A or the XM4, but definitely a slight difference there. Then looking at the Groza now, as you can see, I don't think there's really much difference here at all. It doesn't really look like there's much recoil difference here at all, to be completely honest. This one's a bit smoother than before, and this one's a bit more angular, but like I said, for the Groza, doesn't really make too much of a difference, but for the AK-47, definitely a slight difference here. So we've compared the Axial 3x optic and the Royal & Cross 4x optic now, and like I said, the results vary between weapon to weapon, so you're going to need to figure out what weapon it is you like to use, and then compare these two optics. And like I said, we haven't tested every single weapon in this video, that would take some time, and then also you do get both of these optics on LMGs as well, so you need to compare it on those kind of weapons too. So it's just something you need to keep in mind when you're choosing your attachments for these weapons, because having that slight recoil buff can be the difference of you winning or losing gunfights inside this game. And that's also going to depend on whether you want that extra zoom or not as well. If you enjoyed this video and you learned something new, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as we try to reach our goal of 10,000 subscribers, and click that link in the description down below and subscribe to our second channel. We do post extra content over there, and thank you very much for watching.